3 vehicles. Manual.
What?
Manual transmission.
Oh.
Regular meeting of the Clear Lake City Council of Monday, October 18, 2021 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So offered. Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Dana, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, number 3. You have a copy of the minutes of October 4th, 2021. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. And we have a tax abatement application for John Morgan at 503 Oak Hill Court. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or concern that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter in the minutes. This is not a discussion time, nor is it a question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll move to 6, new business, 6A, Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Plan Area Amendments. Review, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Council, we'll run through the items here in the packet with you and come back for some introductory comments and then go back through some maps again. The first green sheet in your packet is a resolution deleting property from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. And then on the backside of that, you'll find the legal descriptions of the property that we will be deleting from the Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. The pink or orange sheet here is an ordinance that deletes that same property from the TIF district. So I know it seems a little confusing, but we have an urban renewal area that we'll be removing property from, and then subsequent to that, really the enabling piece of legislation that allows us to utilize tax increment financing is through the ordinance itself. So we'll then be removing that property, that same property, by ordinance. So that's the orange sheet, and I'll repeat this again later, but that is prepared under the assumption that we would amend the process to have all 3 readings of that ordinance on tonight's agenda. The gold sheets that follow that are the last item on this topic, and that is a resolution setting the date for a public hearing on designating the expanded Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area and on the Urban Renewal Plan Area amendments. And then the purple sheets are a copy of the actual Urban Renewal Plan amendments to the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area, prepared with the assumption date of being adopted November of 2021. And then the last sheets after that are a copy of the tax increment financing district maps, and we're going to go over that here just in a little bit. As I mentioned, the council will consider various proceedings in connection with the deletion of certain property from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. As I mentioned with the resolution, that covers the deletion of property from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. Your second set of proceedings covers the adoption of an ordinance deleting property from the TIF district for the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. As I mentioned before, under Chapter 380.3 of the Code of Iowa, that ordinance is prepared under the assumption tonight that you'll hold all 3 readings of that ordinance tonight and waive that statutory requirement that it be considered at 2 separate meetings after the initial meeting. So, and just as a note, I know you're well aware of this, that does require 4/5 approval of the council in order to do that. So once that ordinance has been finally adopted, then we will publish that. So so we anticipate publishing that this Wednesday in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter, and then filing a copy with the county auditor of Cerro Gordo County. And I would mention also that Jennifer and I did have a meeting with the Cerro Gordo County auditor on this Thursday of last week, and kind of went over the actions that we were anticipating. A very positive, productive meeting, very appreciative of us taking that time to go over and meet with them about what it is that we're talking about doing here, and so very much in lockstep with them on this. Lastly, that final resolution in your packet establishes November 15th as the date for the public hearing on the expansion of the consolidated urban renewal area and on the amendment to the urban renewal plan and area. Notice of that will be published. That is a 4 and 20-day notice. I was thinking we were going to have the hearing on November 1st, but the hearing will be on November 15th. So actually, we'll wind up publishing notice in the Mirror Reporter on November 3rd, since that is a not less than 4, nor more than 20-day publication prior to the date for the public hearing. Again, the copy of the amendment to the urban renewal plan. Also, you've been through this a few times before. We have to submit that to our Planning and Zoning Commission for a review and then a written recommendation back to the council. So we have that set for our next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, which is October 26th. So we'll have these items on that agenda as well. The last item on this topic is, of course, you're aware we do have to have a consultation meeting with the other affected taxing entities of Cerro Gordo County, most specifically the Clear Lake Community School District as well as Cerro Gordo County, to talk about the urban renewal plan amendment and what the additional new area is that we'd be adding into that. So we will have that consultation on October 29th at 10 a.m. In terms of, let's just look at the maps is the next step. So Jennifer's going to put that up on the big screen. We'll start with the tax increment financing districts as they exist today. So July 2019 is the basis point for starting here. Should have that up here in just a moment. You got it in your packet. You'll notice the various TIF districts that we have in the community as they exist today. And you'll see the words consolidated. So you'll have like the Clear Lake Consolidated Northwest District, the Clear Lake Consolidated Willow Creek District, the area in the Buddy Holly corridor vicinity down by the Surf Ballroom, part of the Consolidated District. The yellow area is the downtown area. Then there's larger industrial expansion area in the pink and in the gray that was incorporated into the consolidated area, and also the Willow Creek area, and then the blue area, and then there's the Apple Valley area down there. You're gonna put
I don't have those maps.
No. So, well, we'll just continue to look on these. So those are the existing TIF areas as they exist today. The next map is proposed for October 2021, where we're at today, with the areas that would be removed. So looking at the green area, the Willow Creek Urban Renewal Area, you'll see the red dashed line. You'll see the words, the arrow area to be removed contained there. So what we are proposing there is that in that particular urban renewal area, everything north of Highway 18, we would remove from that urban renewal area and the TIF district. So that area was set up, like many of these, initially back in 2003. And there was, we consolidated those a couple years, I think, after that. But we first started certifying debt for some of these in 2005. So we'll stay on Willow Creek. That was an area, again, set up in 2003 for certified debt in 2005. By law, we have 20 years from the date that that debt is first certified in that district, that district can stay on the books, so to speak. So we're obviously coming up on 2022, so that would put us at 2025. So we got 3 years left in that district that we can collect tax increment. So obviously anything north of Highway 18, there's not been a lot there. That was actually kind of contemplated at one time where we're looking at a different economic development project, involved housing, golf course development, so forth on that. So what we're proposing is, since the clock is, we've got about 3 years left on that, we'll pull that area out. We'll keep everything south of the North Highway 18 right-of-way line in for the final 3 years, continue to let that southern portion run its course till expiration, which will be in 2025. Then we're going to turn around and add back in that pink sheet, or pink square area you see there on your sheet. That is known as the Embry Development Project. So that area will be added back in to this. And the reason we're doing that is, when we recall from our letter of intent on the Embry Development Project, we have a 10-year property tax rebate penciled in as part of an economic development incentive package. Well, obviously, with only 3 years remaining on the area north of the highway, north right-of-way line, we wouldn't be able to fulfill a 10-year rebate agreement. So we'd only have 3 years left. So we'll take that area out, delete it from the TIF district ordinance, but we'll turn around pursuant to that resolution that's also in your packet, hold a public hearing, consider an ordinance on the 15th of November to add that area back in and giving that area a new 20-year life under the economic development finding for the projects in that area. So, and that's kind of been a change over the years in tax increment financing. Many, many years ago, it was done a lot like that first map that you saw that we just went through a little bit ago, where there was not a lot of thought given to these areas, and it was kind of a large, I hate to say land grab, but kind of a large area designated for these. That's really not the way it's done any longer. So it's more or less done on kind of a project by project basis, individually looking at these. So for example, again, the Embry project, we will designate that area and it will actually even be defined more precisely at the hearing on the 15th in the TIF ordinance. It will actually at that point say Lot 1 of Emerald subdivision in that, for that project. So again, it'll even be more defined than that. But generally speaking, for where we're at tonight, that area will be taken out, and then the area in the pink block area put back in. Same thing over in the Clear Lake Consolidated Industrial Expansion area, the RCP investment project. So if you see the area A, there's an area A there that to be removed, and you'll see the arrow pointing down. We will be taking out area A. Actually, I'm not so sure, it's not technically expired now anyway. There hasn't really been any activity to speak of in that area. So that will be taken out, and we will be adding back in the area that is in the white, that is also, you'll see kind of that gerrymandered kind of line that goes up and down there. Those are full parcels, and there's about, in addition to the RCP parcel, we'll be adding in about 4 other parcels. And part of that is based, again, on conversations with the auditor, where they prefer that we add full parcels versus a portion of a parcel. So in that case, again, you've got like Reuter Properties is one of them, and I'll go through them more specifically here in a moment. But for example, that is one of them. We'll be adding that entire parcel in. Now, if you recall from the RCP investment project, we are not only doing a partial property tax exemption for a period of 5 years, but we'd also agreed to fund certain storm sewer improvements. Those storm sewer improvements are located north of the north right-of-way line on 4th Avenue South. So we had originally envisioned just including that portion of those properties, and we'll be getting an easement there to locate that storm sewer pipe along those properties. But again, in consultation with the auditor's office, they prefer that we include the entire parcel as opposed to just a portion of the parcel. So that's why that kind of gerrymandered line looks the way it does. Those are full parcels. And then again, over the other area to be removed is that very large Clear Lake Consolidated Northeast area. Going to the next page, that is what the map will look like. So if you look at the kind of juxtapose the 2019 map versus the 2021 map, you'll see how different they look. And it's quite a bit of property being taken out. Much of that is property, again, that the clock is ticking on. And if there were development projects, in particular economic development projects that were to come forward, more than likely, we'd be looking at a development agreement that would be multi-year and well beyond what the expected life for those districts are anyway. So may as well take them out. And there also are areas that are not producing much in the way of increment for us to be able to use for other purposes. The last sheet, these are the proposed projects that will be included as part of our plan amendment. So we're amending the plan to add additional property, and we're amending the plan to add projects. And these projects are the ones that will be added into that urban renewal plan amendment. So just run through those real quick with you. You can see where they're at on the map. 600 block of Buddy Holly Alley reconstruction project. That will be added in. The seawall rehabilitation project is an add. The 400 block of Main Avenue, that's added in. We also have the East Main reconstruction project between North 8th Street and North 9th Street. That is in the downtown urban renewal area and TIF district, so we'll add that back into the project as well. And then also, again, the Embry project as well as the RCP investment project. So those are, on this page, the public works projects that we'll be adding to the plan amendment. And the reason we're adding those back in, when Jennifer and I were meeting with the county last week, and they had mentioned, we're one of the rare communities, probably in the state, that doesn't maximize our TIF collections. So even though we've had these kind of large areas and various projects in, we have not been one of those communities that has really, I think, taken full advantage of the opportunity under TIF, but not in a negative way at all. There are other communities that are thinking absolutely under the sun, how can we utilize TIF to pay for some of these things and reserve other resources? We haven't done that. So even though we're adding some projects here, we've got a historical background that, again, like the county could tell you about, that we have not done what many other communities have done, which is max out their ability to collect on TIF. So we're adding a few projects. We'd like to take, again, more advantage of our abilities to utilize TIF than we are now. So that's part of the reason to add some of those additional projects back in. I go back through, I'll go to we'll take a look at the resolution that I talked about that will add additional property back in the gold sheets, that will add additional property back in to the urban renewal area and add new projects. That first sheet there, that is a copy of the resolution, identifies all the new projects that we're going to be adding in and utilizing tax increment financing to help fund. And then the copy of the public notice that will go in the newspaper, as I mentioned, on November 3rd, indicating November 15th is the date, time, place for a public hearing here, 6 p.m. at the chambers on that. And again, that public hearing notice identifies specifically all those projects in there, so you can see every one of them is listed in order there. And then the exhibit that is attached to that paper, you'll see number one there, the Embry project, the RCP investment project, and then also the additional properties that are being added back in. So obviously the Embry project is a big one. The RCP project, those are the two that are directly tied to economic development projects. The other properties being added back in, the Reuter property, the Erickson property, the Arnberg property, and the S&K properties, they're being added into the urban renewal area and plan amendment because the storm sewer that we're going to be building goes across their property. And auditor, again, prefers that we add the entire parcel versus just what we had originally contemplated was 20 feet north of the North 4th Avenue South right-of-way line. But again, in consultation with them, we're going to add the full parcels in. Lastly, I'll probably talk about just the purple sheets. That is a copy of the Urban Renewal Area Plan Amendment itself, so we'll be filing a copy of that with the county and the school district. We'll probably send courtesy copies to others, the NIAC as well, indicating these are the projects that we're proposing to add into the plan as amendments. So you'll see the projects identified there. They have the name of the project. So for example, 400 block of Main Avenue Alley project, the urban renewal area, and a description of the project, and then also how it is that we will be utilizing tax increment financing for the project. So again, you got the 400 block of Main Avenue. The next one is the 600 block of Buddy Holly Place, East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. Again, that segment between 8th and 9th Street. Seawall Rehabilitation Project, the Embry Development Project, the RCP Investment Project. And then the exhibit on that, the last part of that is, again, just identifying the actual geography that's being added back into the plan. So I know that's a lot, but I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody might have on those.
Council, any questions for Scott?
Yes, Mayor, if I could. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate the preview. Having reviewed the materials in the packet and the legal descriptions and everything for tonight's meeting, I did notice, particularly on page 4 of that purple section, some interesting news, and I just wanted confirmation from you that the commercial project proposed by Embry Development is, in fact, a Hy-Vee grocery store and convenience mart. Is that the case?
Yes, I'll confirm that.
Wow, that is fantastic. Great news. Thank you very much.
That's kind of a powerful statement there. Mike?
I think if you can figure all of this out, the Detroit Lions should hire you to conduct their next draft, because the way it's going, you might be right. This might be the first 0-17 season. So
Yeah.
good luck with all of that.
Thanks much.
Any other questions, comments, Council?
Piggyback on what Councilmember Smith said. Yeah, I think some of the projects are really an exciting thing for our community. It's been nice to be involved with these, and you mentioned the Embry project, and sometimes they take a little while to come to fruition. And again, this is something that I think we first started having conversations with this developer about a year ago. And so it's taken a little while to get to this point. We're nearly a year in on this, so sometimes they take a little while. But as I say, I think we've got things set for planning and zoning for Tuesday the 26th, and I anticipate the site plan on that docket for consideration then. And I would expect probably ground to be breaking on the project yet this month. So even though it's been close to a year, I think it's probably gone pretty well.
Fantastic. Excuse me, Mayor, would you like me to comment now or wait till the motion? I've got just a few comments.
Well, why don't we go through all the
Okay.
motions, and then there's quite a few of them here, and we'll do that. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, Council, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2149. This is a resolution deleting property from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve Resolution 2149. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2149 is duly adopted. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 861. This is an ordinance deleting property from the tax increment financing district for the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area of the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, pursuant to Section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa. And this is the first of 3 readings. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve ordinance number 861. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Ordinance number 861 is approved on the first reading. And now I'll entertain a motion pursuant to Section 380.3 of the Code of Iowa to place ordinance number 861 on the final of 3 readings, thus waiving the second reading as per Section 380.3 of the Code of Iowa. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Mike, that we approve the motion to place ordinance 861 on the third and final reading. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, excuse me. Mayor, I move that the requirement of Iowa Code Section 380.3 that a proposed ordinance or amendment be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed and suspended and waived, and this ordinance be fully passed and adopted at this time.
Is there a second?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we carry through with the particular motions as stated here in front of us, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Flory, but that's 380.3, it's the same motion.
That's correct.
Identical. Is there any discussion on this? Roll call. Gary.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Dana.
Yes.
Mark. And Mike.
Yes.
Motion carries with the 4 positive votes that are needed, and we will now waive the second reading of ordinance number 861 and move directly to the third and final reading. And therefore, I'll entertain a motion now to approve ordinance number 861, which is an ordinance deleting property from the tax increment financing district for Clear Lake. Page turned here. Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area of the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, pursuant to Section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa on the third and final reading. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve ordinance number 861 on the third and final reading. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and ordinance number 861 is duly approved on the third and final reading. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2150. This is a resolution setting the date for a public hearing, which shall be November 15th, on designation of the expanded Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Area and on the Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2150. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, if I could, I'd like to make a few comments on that. It's a great evening with the opportunity we've had here to talk about the new development project. I just want to say that I think in terms of how we've handled this process, it's been excellent. I think when we look at what we did with the Courtway Park development, you know, it's so important for us to get an anchor project that catalyzed further economic development. And boy, we've really seen that happen with the Starboard Retail, Square Development, Old Dominion, and others. So I think that's one point I would make. I think this is a unique opportunity to do the same thing where this project is located. I think secondly, I just think it's really significant that we've got this kind of private sector investment and leadership in our community. And Scott, you can kind of confirm this for me, but aren't we north of $100 million in private investment in the last few years, going back to McKesson?
Yep, Yeah, I think if you look at McKesson, the Timbercrest project, Rocca, the Embry project, Marriott, Old Dominion, you're about 105, 110 million.
Wow. I mean, I think that's very impressive for a community of our size. And I think, also not just on the private sector leadership side and investment, I really appreciate your leadership and our leadership in the public sector. I think the kinds of incentives we put forward are appropriate, they're prudent, and they really support further economic development in these areas. And we've seen that in Courtway Park, and I'm hopeful we'll see it again here with the new Embry development on this side. So, again, with how we propose those incentives and carry them out, I don't see really any risk to the taxpayer because of the lead investment by the private sector, and then we come in and support that. But you might want to comment on that too.
Sure, that's correct. The investment that we would have, so we're kind of just getting started on some of this, so it's still a long way to
Right.
go. And your wheels could always come off at any point. Yeah, the letter of intent that we've structured, so the incentives that we provide, just like we did with the Marriott project or McKesson, some of the others have been sort of on the back end. So the developer does those things, and then we reimburse the developer after they're accomplished. So in the case of the Embry project, there's a 60-inch storm sewer that the city has that cuts through what will be lot 1, which you'll be seeing probably at your meeting on November 1st, the plat for that. Lot 1 is where the grocery store will be located. There's that storm sewer that cuts through there. That will have to be rerouted. So if you recall from our letter of intent, we'd agreed to reimburse certain costs up to a maximum limit for that. So that will have to be done by the developer under the auspices of their development project, and then pursuant to our letter of intent, which will further memorialize in a future development agreement, we have indicated that upon substantial completion of the project, then we would reimburse the developer for those costs. So we had that same kind of arrangement with the Marriott. Things went so well there that we did decide, when we went ahead and issued our debt borrowing for that, to pay them incrementally because they were doing so well. But typically, that's how it's structured, is that upon the completion of the project. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's incredibly prudent because what we're doing is the private sector leadership is there, we're seeing their investment, and we're willing to support that in different ways, but we're not having to put any kind of upfront money out there to recruit them.
Now, sometimes they do ask.
Yes, they do.
And so, in that case, we were not going to reroute a storm sewer and not have a project.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, my congratulations. I think it's a great project, and again, just the example of how the process works in terms of building momentum in terms of economic development. If you get an anchor project, that can catalyze a lot of other development that we've seen.
Completely agree with you. Yeah. Yep. And again, I think when the Emerald Edge subdivision comes forward, I think exactly as you've described, it will be a catalyst for future development and the lots. I can't recall how many lots, maybe 6 lots. They're additionally going to be platted there on US Highway 18 between North 14th Street, North 20th Street, and then some on the other side of the new street that will go as part of that. So probably 8, 9 more commercial development lots.
Wow.
There that I think, again, being that close proximity to the grocery store will help spur further development, yes.
Oh, that is just superb. Thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome. Another step in the ongoing economic development progress that we have going here in this great community, and thanks all. All right, I need a roll call on Resolution 2150. Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and Resolution 2150 is duly adopted. Thank you all. 6B, lease agreement proposal for physical therapy clinic for approximately 800 square feet of office space at 115 North 20th Street, Clear Lake Athletics and Wellness Center. Review, Creighton Schmidt, Director of Finance. Welcome, Creighton.
And council. The city has proposed to lease on the first floor of the Wellness Center a space of about roughly 800 square feet out to a locally owned and operated physical therapy clinic. A response to solicitation for bids was received by Molenkamp Physical Therapy in the amount of $1,750 for rent. The city must hold a public hearing on the proposal since the term of the lease is for a period of 3 years. And at our last meeting on October 4th, we set the date for the public hearing for tonight, October 18th. So tonight we will hold that public hearing and then vote on the motion to approve the lease here. So Molenkamp Physical Therapy does plan to continue to operate its primary location right over here on 800 North 8th Street. And the location for the Wellness Center will be a satellite facility. So they are looking to expand their current operation into the new Wellness Center. I know Adam, as well as the team here, is excited for that partnership, as well as the ability to offer that service in the new Wellness Center.
Questions, Creighton? Thank you, Creighton. Now is time and place for the public hearing with regard to the lease agreement proposal for physical therapy clinic for approximately 800 square feet of office space at 115 North 20th Street, i.e. Clear Lake Athletics and Wellness Center. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council on that particular issue, please approach the podium. State your name first and last and give your address so the clerk can properly enter the minutes. Not appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the lease agreement for the physical therapy clinic.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we close the public hearing with regard to the physical therapy clinic at 115 North 20th Street. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2151. This is a resolution approving a lease agreement with the Molenkamp Physical Therapy. Motion, please.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Dana, that we approve Resolution 2151. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and Resolution 2151 is duly adopted. Thank you. 6C, proposal to sell certain real property owned by the city to Reagan Signs. Review, Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The first pink sheet in your packet addresses this item. That is a resolution setting the date for a public hearing on the proposal to sell real property belonging to the city of Clear Lake, and as the mayor mentioned, it would be to Reagan Signs of Rochester, Minnesota. Within that resolution is a copy of the notice of public hearing that would be published on October 20th, so this Wednesday, in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter. And that again identifies the location of the property that is proposed for sale to Reagan Signs of Rochester, Minnesota, in the amount of $1 per square foot. Roughly about 11,000 square foot of property here that the city is proposing to sell. The next sheet is a copy of the beacon map that identifies in blue the parameters of this property. So you can see it's located between North 13th Street right-of-way line and North 14th Street, in between US Highway 18 and 10th Avenue North. So it's a odd-shaped piece of property, of course. And then the gold sheets, whatever color they are, that follow that is a quitclaim deed that was entered into between the city and the DOT back in 2010 that transferred that property from the DOT to the city of Clear Lake at no cost as part of a project that we did with them. And again, it's kind of one of those uneconomic remnants. Is kind of what the legalese for them are. You really can't do anything with them. It's an unbuildable lot. So essentially, we've had the property for about 11, 12 years, and all we've done is mowed it because there's really nothing else that you could do there other than, I suppose, you could plant tomatoes or something like that. But that's about it. There's not much else that can be done with this property. So kind of an opportunity here. And in part of, we were having conversations with Reagan about the opportunity. There's 3 billboard structures that they have. They have a lot of billboards in this area. So it's been a pleasure to get to know that company and their representatives. They have a lot of billboards in our area, and 3 of them are located between North 14th Street and North 20th Street on the north side of US Highway 18 there. And as we contemplate further economic development activities, those don't look the greatest, and they're kind of in the way of some of the projects that we'd like to do there. So been working with them on the proposal to essentially take those down and build a new single pedestal LED sign on this piece of property here for the city that would be almost identical to the one that they have on the North Iowa Fairgrounds property. And they have a lease with them for that property there, and they have the sign up there on that one. So we've had that conversation with them, and they've been agreeable to that. So we're going through a process here tonight to set that in motion. I think it'd be very positive, not only in terms of the aesthetics along US Highway 18, but also in opening up more economic development opportunities there in that stretch between 14th and North 20th Street by removing these signs from the area. So, and there's some other legal issues involved that aren't really relevant for your thoughts here tonight, but you know, I'll just drop that one out there. We also have had a public hearing with the Board of Adjustment on this. So in order for Reagan to be able to build the sign, there would be 2 variances that would have been required. And they had made application following notice and hearing for variances related to the sign ordinance that we have is very restrictive, so it's not even really, it's pretty much antiquated. But the square foot limitations on the signs that you could put up are very, very small. So they made an application for a variance to increase the square footage per face on the sign. And then also the ordinance requires that there be notification to the public that it be anytime you're within a certain distance of a residential district, and this would be across the street. There's about 5 houses across the street that are zoned residential. So had to make an ask of the Board of Adjustment in order for the placement of this sign at that location because of the proximity within 120 feet of a residential district. So the board did consider that and did approve those variances. I just give a recognition to Councilmember Hughey, who was here and filled in for me that evening. Hopefully you're not going to dock my pay for that night, but he did a very nice job from all accounts in helping that along, so I appreciate you doing that. So. Again, tonight is the resolution to set the date for the public hearing, and again, that would be at your November 1st council meeting. Notice will go in the paper on October 20th. And then once we clear that hurdle, then we would come back at the same meeting on November 1st with a sale purchase agreement for the property and hold the public hearing and take the final action on it at that time. You know, they still have a lot to do, so they probably would be looking at like a spring date for construction on the sign there. So they still have to do soil borings and some other things. So probably would put it in their queue for April or May. I think I probably already said this, or maybe you gleaned it from the fact that we got it by quitclaim deed. Obviously, this was given to the city at no cost.
Council, any questions for Scott?
Yeah, Scott, it sounds complicated to me, yeah.
You know, and there it's even more complicated, but it'd take me another half hour if you really want to hear the whole story.
No, I think I'm good, but I do want to say thank you because I think, you know, I would just mention for the public benefit, things like this do not happen overnight because there's a lot of moving pieces, like you said, dealing with Reagan outdoor signs and crafting or fashioning a solution that's workable for them and the future economic development opportunities we have going out there. So, yeah, there's a lot of work involved, and so thank you for being persevering on that.
You know, and a lot of times the most insignificant items and their stories are probably never told. Really, behind the scenes were probably some of the more significant items. So
yeah, and it's great we had that chunk of property that will work for the new sign.
Yes,
really, right there. So thank you, Mayor.
You bet.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2152, a resolution proposing to sell certain property owned by the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, and setting the date for a public hearing, which shall be November 1st, 2021, here in the council chambers, thereon, and providing for notice of this particular hearing that I just alluded to. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Gary, that we approve Resolution 2152. Is there any discussion? Mike,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
and Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2152 is duly adopted. Thank you. 6D, Whitaker Court Sanitary Sewer Extension Project, review a quote, bid opening, and recommendation on award of contract. Mr. Petersburg, Veenster and Kim, welcome, Jason.
Yep, I'll jump right in here before Jason does. Jason's going to review the bid letting, quote letting, and then make a recommendation regarding the award of contract on that. So just real quick in your packet, you've got a resolution there making award of contract, and that also is approving the contract and bonds for the Whitaker Court project, sanitary sewer extension. And he'll talk more about this, but it's to Bob McKinnis Excavating and Grading of Mason City in the amount of $59,859. Also, before Jason gets up, just in way of some background, again, I know we've covered this a few times, but back at your meeting on August 2nd, the council had awarded an engineering services agreement to Veenster and Kim for this particular project that involves an 8-inch gravity sewer line that's located on private property. That has been in really marginal substandard condition for a very long time. There are 11 services that tie off onto this line. It's kind of just north of where Mike's at. And there have been a number of sewer backups, sanitary sewer backups that have kind of plagued these residential properties over the years. But again, since this was a private line, we didn't really have much involvement here. So we would occasionally go down and try to assist where we could. But again, this was kind of a dilapidated, old, undersized sanitary sewer line. So really, again, if we go back to kind of the genesis of what began the project, it was a demolition of a property there on 4th Avenue North. And that property sat right over the top of this old sanitary sewer line. So by demolishing that property, gave an opportunity for that line then to be relocated out from under where it was previously and not built underneath a home in the future. So it would be relocated out around that where a new home would be constructed there. So there, as I mentioned, 11 property owners involved in this project, so a lot of credit to Jason and Jeremy here for working with those property owners to kind of bring this project to where it is today, which is 11 property owners that have agreed to voluntarily be specially assessed for these improvements. And if you recall from our past discussions, our involvement in this project will be funding of essentially the sewer main line pipe materials, some manholes, a few other things, and the engineering services that went along with this. The rest of the project is on the shoulders of the 11 affected property owners who have again agreed to be specially assessed for these improvements for the sewer. So Jason has advised me that he has met with those property owners just very recently and has all 11 agreements signed. So we'll have those for consideration at your next council meeting. I do want to also point out we have a manhole there in 4th Avenue North that is one of the old brick style manholes. So as part of this project, it kind of presented a good opportunity for us to replace that old brick style manhole with a new structure. And if you recall from a lot of the work, and we've done a lot of it around the watershed, you know, we have either lined or replaced those old manhole structures because they infiltrate a lot of water, and of course this being in the watershed in a very close proximity to the lake. So this is a good opportunity for us to piggyback into that project and replace that old brick style manhole there on 4th Avenue North. Back at your meeting on October 4th, you had set the date for, again, in this case, since the project is less than the statutory threshold for competitive bid letting, we were able to use a more streamlined competitive quote process, we call it. So we had set the date to receive competitive quotes on this project for October 14th, 11 o'clock here at the City Hall Council Chambers. Jason will elaborate on this, but we did get the 3 bids, and as I mentioned, McInnes was the lowest responsible bidder on this project, and a really aggressive bid, as you'll notice there, versus the engineer's estimate, so about 20% less than what the engineer's estimate was. So that was, haven't seen those kind of margins in a while on projects. So in terms of the schedule, we're again still anticipating that this would begin prior to the end of October yet, and it does have a early December completion date. So I don't have anything further on that one unless anyone has any questions, and Jason can review the bid tab.
Questions for Scott? Thanks, Scott. Jason, welcome.
Mayor, Council, like Scott indicated, we received quotes last Thursday at 11 a.m. During the bid phase, there was one addendum that was issued to the plan holders on the project. We had another meeting with the property owners, and they actually requested that we put in more service pipe, private service pipe that's 100% at their cost, so that additional work and some sewer cleanouts was added to the project as well. As you can see on the bid tab, we received 3 quotes for this project. The low quote was from McInnes Excavating out of Mason City for the amount of $59,859. V&K does recommend that the city award the contract to McInnes Excavating. I'd also note that we do have all 11 of the petition and waiver agreements, voluntary assessment agreements signed. The property owners were very good, very cooperative at getting those chased down for us. And that there are also 2 sanitary sewer easements required for this project, and we have both of those signed by the property owners as well. So we can start on this project as soon as manholes are received, which they're telling me are about 2 weeks out. Any questions?
Questions for Jason? Thanks, Jason. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2153, a resolution approving the quote bid from McInnes Excavating and Grading and authorizing city administrator and city clerk to execute the contract and approve the bonds.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve Resolution 2153. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same. Motion carries. 6E, purchase of Sanders for Public Works Department 1-ton truck and Parks Department John Deere tractor review. Mr. Kornberg, Public Works Director, welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, we have 2 pieces of equipment here. The first one's a slide-in sander for our one-ton dump truck. Smaller vehicle that can fit into alleyways, tighter parking lots, the outlet area. We'll utilize this to be able to salt certain parking lots, such as City Hall here, where we have impervious pavement and whatnot, where we don't want sand to be used as much, as well as the VFW and Rookies lots. It'll also allow us to just use purely sand in alleyways when we get some ice, rather than a sand-salt mix, which is what you normally have. That salt will just deteriorate gravel roads. And then also the purchase of the second piece of equipment is what's called a drop sander. Would be put on the back of the Parks and Recs John Deere tractor, rather than the spinning style of sander, which throws sand probably 4 feet at each direction, majority of the sand not ending up on the sidewalks that they're trying to sand. This just lays it down right behind them. So as they're doing sidewalks around the park, the new wellness center, etc., they'll just better utilize that piece of equipment. So we took 2 bids. We got bids from Larry Elwood Construction out of Mason City and Christ Steel Truck and Equipment. The slide-in sander was a Boss VBX 9000. Their bid was $8,948.05, and that is also installed quote. So we would take it there. They would install it, do all the wiring, and have everything prepped for us, just so we can use the quick connects and take it out when we get back. The bid from Christ Steel Truck and Equipment out of Lake Crystal, Minnesota, same process, was $9,536. For the drop spreader for the John Deere, Larry Elwood Construction's bid was $3,990.95, and this just comes pre-assembled. We just got to install it. From Christ Steel, the same piece of equipment was $4,101. With that, our recommendation is to accept the bid from Larry Elwood Construction out of Mesa City for a total of $12,939. And both of these pieces of equipment are actually on hand there, so we'll probably have them by the end of the week if approved. Any questions?
Council, any questions for Jeremy?
All right, thank you.
Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve the recommendation of Public Works Director and authorize the purchase of the sanders from Larry Elwood Construction in the amount of $12,939. Is that correct, Jeremy?
Yes,
$12,939. Motion, please.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve the recommendation of Public Works Director on the sanders. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 6F, Clear Lake Seawall Rehabilitation Project Professional Services Agreement, Amendment Number 2. Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, the green sheets in your packet address this item. This is, as the mayor indicated, amendment number 2 to our original professional services agreement with RDG relating to the seawall rehabilitation project. If you recall, the original contract was for essentially the examination of the seawall, preparing a report, identifying various elements of the seawall where improvements need to be made and so forth. So that was, if we look at the backside of that, that was that $4,800 figure. Then we added amendment number 1, which is for the National Register of Historic Places nomination process. That is the $9,500 figure. And this is amendment number 2, which would be for construction documents, bidding, construction contract and administration and so forth. And this would be, again, that $30,600 amount. So we've already approved the top 2. This is only for that amendment number 2, so only $30,600. That would bring the total scope of compensation to RDG for this particular project to $44,900, should this amendment number 2 in the amount of $30,600 be approved. I would just add just a couple of things. You've been through a lot of these things numerous times. In this case, it's a little bit more complex because there's numerous outside agencies involved, not the least of which is the Corps of Engineers, so there's an extensive permitting process. So I think we'll get some good value here working with RDG through that process. The process involving the National Register, we had a first meeting on that here again the other day, members of the Historical Society, so, and I've actually got to mention too, this is something, this is not new. I was doing Bob Fisher radio the other day, and I mentioned, this is something Mike had brought up quite some time ago on the National Register issue for the seawall. We're just looking at doing it in conjunction with rehabilitation improvements down here. So the process for the National Register, there are opportunities available through the state for assistance with that. However, I think the timeline for that, I'm not sure how many of you will still be here by the time all that would be completed. So you basically make an application to the state to be in that cycle. There's only certain amounts of time that they consider those applications, which is why we chose not to do that. And then they have their review period, and then there's a certain amount of time before they make the announcement and so forth. And that's just to get assistance in developing an application. Then you got to make the application. Then that goes to the State Historic Preservation Office, and that doesn't move real fast. And then when that's done, then it would go to the National Park Service in Washington, D.C., and that moves even slower. So the process, by cutting out an attempt to try to get some sort of funding that we wouldn't be guaranteed of anyway, from the state to help with that portion of the project, if things go well, it could be early as August of 2023 that we would know this. If we would not have gone that route, you're probably into 2024 or later. on that. So again, just, I think the process that we've had identified here for this is a good one. It's a quick process. And again, I think waiting a matter of maybe a year or two for $5,000 simply does not pencil out. So when we look at that schedule for this portion of the project, the milestone dates on this, you can see if the council approves the amendment number 2 this evening, they'll start their DNR and Army Corps of Engineer process and have that targeted for completion in December. We're looking at distributing the bidding documents in January of 2022 and then having a bid date in February of 2022. We've established a substantial completion date for this in June of 2022. So that's a pretty aggressive schedule. So we'll just see how the numbers come in. But again, I think several of us have been involved with talking to a number of professionals on this, contractors, and so we'll just have to see how that works into their schedule. It's going to be a very complicated project for bidding. We've already had, the mortar has now been analyzed by 2 separate laboratories that do that, and it's remarkable. I know you've read that report probably, but remarkable the integrity of the construction. So when we're looking at the National Register opportunity here, it's based on the fact that there's significance associated with it as a WPA project, but also the style of construction being very unique to that period. So the irony here is the wall is so strong, so substantial, so strong as it exists today that it will be extremely expensive to rehabilitate. So the amount of mortaring that's going to need to be done, of course, there's some granite that needs to be replaced and so forth, but again, the fact having, and I really enjoyed Gary and Mike, I know you guys are both there, Nelson was there, enjoyed talking to some of those contractors on this and listening to them talk about the structural integrity of that wall, and everyone had the same opinion, whether it's an architect or 2 different general contractors. It does need some maintenance work, but it is just simply so strong. Remarkable that here we are 75 years later, and there's probably not many things we can say that were built like that. So, I don't know if there's anything more I can talk about on this project or the scope of services here, but I think so far, again, we've had several meetings with RDG on this, impressed, and I think they're doing a good job.
If you haven't read that report, it's not the most enlightening, but it certainly is an interesting report. And for me, anyway, it was, and it's, 8 to 10 pages long, but it's thorough, complete, very, very thorough, and the number of steps that you just spoke about are quite a few. Right. And if you're going to do it, let's do it right. Exactly. It is an icon in this community, and we must do as we are doing presently, and it's neat to see it go to this point. I'm assuming what we're voting on is amendment number 2, which is the $30,600, correct?
That's the one.
Okay. Any other comments, council?
Yes, Scott.
Yeah.
They do have an awful aggressive schedule here.
It is a very aggressive. Of course, that was my schedule, so I can't quite blame them, but that's my schedule.
Well, you did it wrong.
It's aggressive. We'll see. I mean, don't be surprised if we're not rebidding it.
You're probably going to have an intermediate completion.
Very likely.
Simply because of the events going on during the summer.
Very possible. Yeah. I think I
think we probably will.
It's very possible that you may be seeing me again on a revised schedule.
Any other comments, council? Thanks, Scott. Therefore, I entertain a motion to approve amendment number 2, the professional services agreement with RDG with regard to the Clear Lake Seawall Rehabilitation Project Services Professional Services Agreement. This is amendment 2 in the amount of $30,600. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Gary, that we approve amendment number 2 to the professional service agreement with RDG and the seawall. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. The chief is at an area meeting at NIAC at the present time. We have a report in your packet. Are there any, he's not here, I know, but are there any questions or any points of discussion that we should relate to?
Just
Not
mention, I
Okay.
think Jeremy
Okay.
is going to visit about one particular topic.
Okay.
The chief and I and Jeremy and Stacy have kind of been visiting about parking situation down on South Shore Drive there, just east of Main Avenue, that see an opportunity maybe to make some improvements there. And we've talked to the owner of the property, and they're amenable to that. So essentially what we'd like to do, well, let Jeremy kind of talk about the area, but Chief has kind of coordinated this, and it looks like a favorable project for us. So,
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, Chief had, they've had a couple parking issues with this area here. It's currently no parking, but the drive actually goes nowhere, as you can see, with Sunset Sharkies. Hall Realty actually owns that lot, and it's leased by them, by Sunset Sharkies. So, we've talked to the property owners. What we've offered up is to remove the drive over curb. There's a couple saw cuts actually that line up about perfect for about 30 feet there. Also remove the concrete in the parking, and then the city crews will do all this, and we will lay back a full curb there, backfill, plant grass seed, and we should gain for surely two parking spaces there. I think as part of the agreement that we've discussed with the property owners is that the city will incur the cost for this if they decide, or the lease goes up within 5 years and they want that parking lot back. It'll be on their dollar to put the drive over curb and concrete back. After those 5 years, I believe the city would, if something happened.
yeah, that's correct. And if you recall, I know Mike and Nelson, you guys were around back when we did South Shore Drive, they were assessed for those. So that would be why for that arrangement.
So we have locates in. That's probably a couple-day project for us to get it all said and done. So as long as everything's good to go, we'll probably actually get started on that this week. So, any questions for me on that?
You're up next, so carry on.
Well, step right in. Courtway Park subdivision, they finished up the final layer of the asphalt there, paving this week. We'll have to get out there, the city crews get out there and put in several stop signs for those roads now that it is completed. We have set a pre-con meeting date, which will be Thursday at 11 a.m. here at City Hall for the storm sewer and water main improvement project. And then I don't think I have anything. I think that's it. Just like I said, all I had was the South Shore Drive parking addition on here as well. So other than that, any questions for me?
Questions, Council, Jeremy?
And not only of the streets out in Courtway Park, the final lift of asphalt been placed, but also the parking lot for Marriott is now fully surfaced. And today we went out and looked, and the sod is going down as well. So I talked to one of the principals on that project, and he mentioned the last load of furniture is coming in this week. So they're anticipating opening the hotel pretty soon.
Great news, great news. Thank you, Jeremy. Under Mayor's report, I think late this afternoon, we learned from Jim Jackson that the city dock is out, and I believe we store it at the landing and also at the end of the public approach to the lake. Very kind of informative email, I thought, from Jim. Appreciated that. One thing before Stacy and Chad come here, I recall a number of years back, and Saturday certainly was rather chilly time, but that was the last farmer's market this year. And I can recall a number of years ago when Laura Tidrick and Andrea Evelsizer came in my office and said, we got to do something about the farmer's market that we have out here in the parking lot. It's a danger. There are only about 4 or 5, if that, are there. And now just look at it. I think that's one of the premier events that we have during our late spring and clear into early fall. That area every Saturday seems to be full of residents and tourists and visitors alike, and just well done to Laura and Andrea. I'm not sure how many years it is, but it certainly is a very good event that we have. Stacy? Welcome, Stacy, Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's one of the top farmers markets in the state, and that is all through a group of volunteers who wanted to get together and make it better, which speaks to a lot of the success that we've had here in Clear Lake. My team started looking ahead to 2022 this week, and you can't look ahead to 2022 without kind of looking back on all of the accomplishments so far this year. And just in the last 2 weeks, we've had 5 ribbon cutting. So we cut the ribbon on all 3 properties at the corner drug facility. So Charlie's Soda Fountain, White Barn, Picket Fence, Nash and Ivy. And then we also went out to Avion Azul, which is the new airport at the restaurant, or new restaurant at the airport. So if you haven't been out there, I'd highly encourage you to get out there. And then Cancun, filled another vacant property. So again, just talking about how all of these vacant properties up and down Main Avenue and around our retail district are all full, and there's nowhere for anyone to go. So exciting that we have more developments in the works, and we're looking forward to 2022 and just continuing to help any way we can with the excitement and momentum in the community.
Questions for Stacy? We need to give it up for Stacy's daughter, Addie. She's one of the premier cross-country runners that we have had. I believe broke the record, correct, for young ladies running. That's neat. That's neat. Congratulations, Mom. Chad? Welcome. Chad Schreck, North Iowa Corridor.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. Scott kind of buried the lead tonight, but that's all right. Bennett dug it out. Congrats on that. I think that's phenomenal stuff. I know they've been kicking around for quite a while. So, but no, again, just appreciate the city's use in intelligence and how you handle TIF. That's always something that's important to us on the economic development side. You've heard me say it a million times, but again, appreciate that. And we squirm a little bit when we see you pulling stuff out of TIF districts, but I think that was the right move. With, like you said, with those short time frames, it's better just to start fresh when you need to. Because I've certainly run into that in the past, where you try to squeeze stuff into a 3-year term and it creates new headaches that you don't need. So, but had a really good meeting today with Matt Spitzberger from RCP Investment, who's doing the Greenlee corrugating facility. Actually had a lead on some warehouse space that we wanted to talk to them about, seeing if they might have room in there with Greenlee, and there might be a possibility there. So we had a good discussion about that, as well as some other potential opportunities. They're very bullish on Clear Lake and North Iowa in general, and just trying to grow as developers. And so just shared some notes and had some discussions about potential opportunities as they might arise and what we're seeing for common needs as they consider other opportunities, warehousing, industrial type things. I think they could be a really good partner for this community and for us as an EDC. So definitely happy to get that relationship and continue to build on that. And as we look at future industrial, the commercial and retail development's phenomenal, and I think that's core to Clear Lake. But as we do look at maybe some of those, McKesson type warehousing, or not necessarily that large, but I think warehousing distribution is a great opportunity for Clear Lake, and it can be clean, and when put in the right areas, it'll be a good fit for us. So just having some good conversations around that with him and some other developers. Also have a good meeting planned this week around housing with One Vision and some potential opportunities there. I know Scott and Stacy be joining me for that, and I think we might have some good opportunities for partnership there. There's some good funding from the state in housing right now that could play a role, but I think just the opportunities they have land, we've got city participation, if we can get a good developer on board, doing some of that affordable market rate housing that's just been a challenge. I mean, just the reality in Clear Lake, that's a challenge. So if we can figure out the land, we can figure out the infrastructure, figure out a good development partner, I think we can get those price points where we'd want them for our teachers and our nurses and our more of the entry-level positions in our community. So really looking forward to that discussion. Also, you guys probably are aware, but 50th anniversary and annual meeting for One Vision is tomorrow night, so looking forward to that event, and obviously just a great organization for our community. On Vision North Iowa side, we continue our person recruitment, our workforce recruitment efforts. It looks like we're going to start, I've mentioned in the past, we're partnered with a consultant on doing some targeted marketing, doing some things in areas, again, that we know are hot for us and the types of jobs we need. Looking to start that probably at the end of the year. And one of the things that we're trying to do in addition to just targeting specific locations is specific people. So one of the things they can do that's kind of cool, you can capture through your phones and different things, people that are in your community. So looking around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, who came here and then left? And how do we follow them around a little bit? Because the odds are they got family here, they got a connection to the area. And just making sure, hey, there's good opportunities here. Why not consider one of those jobs, one of those things? If you visit us, there's a good chance you might want to come back and potentially live here. So that's another cool thing that they can do. Some of the things that we want to do, and as we're building up our materials and what our ad content and video and different things will look like, we'll be able to roll that out. Hopefully the first of the year is what we're looking at after the holidays, so we can get some of that information built up. But looking forward to that. It's something we'll give a 6-month trial and see how it goes. And if we're getting results, if we're getting the click-throughs and the visits and everything else, and working with businesses to see, are they seeing things? Are they seeing people click through to their job boards and things like that? So really looking forward to that. I think it's essential. Again, our only limiting factor is people. I mean, it just continues to be the area we got to grow. So did receive unfortunate news here in the last couple of weeks about our North Iowa Innovation Center grant through the EDA that we had applied for, the $750,000. The city had offered a potential match on that, along with the county and Mason City and several others. Didn't get it. As he looked at the list, unfortunately, they were almost all major metros like New York City, Dallas, major universities as well, like MIT. So we didn't quite fit into apparently what they told us was more important to them, which we thought was growing rural economies. But we're going to continue to press forward. We're looking at some other potential funding opportunities. May apply again next year. They said one of the things with the EDA grant in that area is a lot of times it's the second time around that you get it. But we're going to look at that. We'll be talking to you guys, I'm sure, and letting you know where that's at and if there might be other opportunities with that. Sometimes it just makes you hone in on the program a little bit better, make it a little bit tighter, run it more local, and maybe it's a better project in the end anyway. So we'll keep working through that with the Papa John Center in Nyack. Get to talk to the Lake Leadership Group for the Chamber here this week on economic and community development, so looking forward to that. And November 2nd, the Nyack Legislative Breakfast will be happening at 7:30. So hopefully you guys got invites. If not, let me know. I'd be happy to help get you into that if you're interested in meeting with local legislators and kind of hearing about what's going on that front. I think I'll cut it off there.
Comments, Council? Thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. Wellness Center Director's Report. Adam Long. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Not the greatest construction update that we've had on record. Unfortunately, I've got some not great news, but we're going to keep trucking and get things done. The cow wall, which I didn't even know what a cow wall was until I Googled it and looked it up a little bit. It's on the south side of the building, basically all those windows on the south side that are still opening. Unfortunately, right now, that is not installed, and it's actually just been ordered. They had to make sure that it was the exact right fit for that piece, so they were ordering it, and it is a little bit back ordered. On our last construction update meeting, the foreman Seth mentioned that he did not get a set date yet. Some of the guys that I'm kind of, I guess I would call friends now that I've been doing so many tours up there, I've kind of heard some gab from them as far as some dates and things like that. I'm not certain yet, but it is going to push back the field house portion a little bit. Because unfortunately, until we get that cow wall installed, they will not be able to start on the flooring inside of the field house. So the 2 hardwood courts have to have a certain temperature, and it has to have a certain climate in there, so they have to wait on that. And they can't do the track before they get the hardwood courts down. So the hardwood courts go down first, and then everything else after that. So my next construction meeting, I will get a set date of when that's supposed to be delivered, but that will push that back a little bit. On the other side, though, they will be able to focus everything on the wellness side portion of it. So the fitness area, the fitness floor, all the multi-purpose rooms should be ready to go. So we're talking about still being able to have a soft opening early January, hopefully that January 3rd date, like I mentioned to you guys. Because like I said, all of my equipment, my guys are probably very annoyed with me. I call them every day to make sure that we're still on schedule. Everything's on scheduled. 1st of December to get installed. Flooring on our side will be starting here in the next couple weeks, 1st of November. So all that should be good. Playground equipment, as you all remember, that was one of the first pieces that we got approved by you back in July, I believe. A couple things that are holding back on that is just the flooring. And then a couple of the structural fittings have been on back order. Now, that was supposed to be installed late October. I still think we're going to be plenty fine as far as January. It just got pushed back a little bit, so we're waiting on that as well. So like I said, not the greatest news on the construction update. I still feel like we're going to be fine on the wellness center side. But to do a grand opening without the full facility open and operated, I don't think that would be the best idea, but I think we can still do a soft opening, start working on memberships and still letting people get in there, do the fitness classes and be able to utilize the fitness floor, because I think all of that's going to be done. The foreman assured me that, he's going to have all of his guys working on that side of it while they're waiting on that cowl wall to get in. So unfortunately, not great news. On a brighter note, I can introduce our lovely new assistant director, Mary Jo Verba, coming from Mason City. So I'm going to bring her up here and let her introduce herself, and then you guys can grill her a little bit, okay?
Welcome, Mary Jo.
Hi, Mayor and Council. My name's Mary Jo. Yep, today's my first day, so we've been busy already kind of looking at the things moving forward that Adam kind of updated you guys on. I was looking at some things on the rec side that we can possibly add, at least with the current facilities that we have, and then obviously starting to even think about spring and summer. Dare we say summer already? Winter's right around the corner. So yeah, hitting the ground running with that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to continue what has already been done here, but build off of that foundation as well. So thank you.
Great to have you. We're excited that you're here. Recreation is Clear Lake, so.
Yes, and
Great.
it's obviously the
Yeah.
winter months, we want to make sure we're excelling in that as well, even though we all love to be outside in the summer here in Clear Lake. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities in the winter as well, so,
Hey,
thanks.
welcome.
And, welcome, Mary Jo.
Same thing that Nelson mentioned, Mary Jo's a very high-impact person, so high energy. We're excited to have her, and, I think she's going to do a lot of great things there at the Wellness Center with Adam. So, and by the way, this is the first meeting Adam hasn't asked for any spending, so this is like the first time I know everybody looks at him when he comes up, is like, oh, boy, where's my wallet?
Yeah, I was going to say. Don't jinx it. This is going to be, please don't jinx it.
That's good. Thanks. Creighton, Director of Finance? Nothing. Mr. Flory?
I'm just going to have Jennifer report on a meeting that we had with Saragordo County regarding re-precincting, so.
As Scott indicated, we met with the auditor's office last week regarding our precincting that we have to do after every census. So as a result of the census, our population went from 7,777 to 7,687. And so due to that decline in our population, we have to do a little redistricting of our wards, our ward boundaries. So there's certain parameters that we have to fall within. The population has to be not equal, but within a certain parameter for each ward. After our meeting, we identified the preliminary revisions and that will accommodate those population changes. The state is anticipated to meet again on October 28th about the redistricting of the state. So after they approve that, which is hopefully at that on that date, we have 60 days to act and go through our re-precincting process. So we hope to bring that to the council at a future meeting. These are our current, this is our current ward map, current boundaries, and then this is what we are proposing. Basically, just the line there that goes on North 8th Street, we kind of are bumping that over to make it more of a even line there. So, and those are the population in each ward that will change. That's pretty similar to what we have now. Ward 3 does bump up some, and Ward 2 does decline a little bit there. But any questions?
Interesting. Yeah. Thanks, Jennifer.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Council, any other business? Our Clear Lake Lions have qualified for the first round of football playoffs and play Unity Christian from Orange City Friday night down here at 7:30. Is that right? Somewhere in there. Go Lions. Any other business, council? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.